In my last few videos, I've talked about my worry for the future of wrestling and the future of cinema, but in this video, I want to talk about something much more important. Since his resounding victory in the US presidential election in November, all eyes have turned to today, January 20th, 2025, and the beginning of Donald Trump's next term in office and what horrifying possibilities that may hold. And one of the most daunting of these possibilities is the effect Trump's return is said to have on media literacy. For those unaware, media literacy is a term used to describe how people use, analyze, interpret, and understand the media presented to them, something which in the age of post-truth politics is becoming a bigger and bigger issue daily. Now, this isn't to say lying in politics is a new phenomenon. The phrase post-truth politics has been around for decades, but is all the more relevant now as a way to describe a world in where distrust in traditional media has been sewn into the very fabric of political debate, and the advent of social media and people's catered feeds has made people's information spheres smaller and smaller and smaller. Social media platforms whose sole focus is to keep you online have no care in the world for whether the information they push to you is correct. It is and always will be about engagement, and unfortunately, it works. For example, Craig Silverman carried out an investigation for BuzzFeed into the top fake news stories on Facebook ahead of the 2016 US presidential election and found that they were outperforming the top stories at 19 mainstream news sites put together, with a study from around the same time from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology finding that fake news travels 6 times faster on Twitter, or X, than real news, and I fear these statistics would be much worse 8 years later. These platforms are intentionally built to learn about you and harvest your data and then use that to pump your timeline with either the same regurgitated takes, often fueled by hate and resentment, because the algorithm for sites like Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube loves themselves some unbridled negativity, or whatever's popular, and if that's fake news, so be it. And this is where Donald Trump comes in. The man's rhetoric and abrasive personality makes him the perfect celebrity political candidate for the social media age, where everybody is either so appalled or galvanized by him that he becomes and has remained for the better part of the last decade the hot-button topic in the world of politics. And it also makes him the perfect candidate for someone who can use this new anti-vax world to take a sledgehammer to the legitimacy of mainstream media. Phrases like witch hunt or fake news became commonplace throughout Trump's first reign as president, allowing him to demonize the media to the point that people are more likely to believe unproven, unsubstantiated claims and conspiracy theories from Trump, such as his claim that the 2020 election was stolen from him, for example, rather than anything by reliable media outlets with decades and decades of proven stories under their belt. The belief and backing of Trump has become so extreme that a civil sexual assault trial which he lost and the inciting of the January 6th riots have become footnotes in Trump's political career rather than being the definitive end of it. The turnaround in Trump's political perception between January 6th, 2021 and January 20th, 2025 is unbelievable and can in large part be contributed to the way in which Trump has convinced his supporters to disregard conventional sources and, well, the truth, in favor of his skewed version of history. We now live in a world in which January 6th is celebrated by the Republican Party as a borderline national holiday, and his felony conviction simply being the latest in a long line of conspiracies, witch hunts, or whichever other buzzword Trump wants to use that have tried to take him down. Trump's war on truth has gotten him this far, so why would he stop now? His latest stint in office seeks to exacerbate the media literacy problem even more, with his intention to target and potentially even sue or seek criminal action against journalists who oppose him, looking to cut funding for researchers, dismantle the Department of Education, and perhaps most importantly, to try and control social media as a means to undercut democratic process. X, the platform which once banned Trump following his rampant spread of misinformation, is now the platform most joined to him at the hip via Elon Musk's association with the president. Facebook has joined the ranks too, with Mark Zuckerberg scrapping third-party fact-checking services on Facebook, something which was introduced in the first place as a response to the Cambridge Analytica scandal, which allowed Russian intelligence to spread fake news and interfere on Trump's behalf during the 2016 US presidential election. Now he's scrapping it as a direct response to Trump's 2024 election and prior criticism of these practices, showing just how much influence the incoming president has. In a video released last week, Mark Zuckerberg justified this decision by saying the US election result was a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech, as well as saying that fact-checking was politically biased. Right, here's my thing. Was the fact-checking biased, or was it just the majority of lying was happening on the right? And the last time I checked, free speech didn't give you the right to spew hate speech or misinformation in droves. That's the kind of shit that should get your right to free speech revoked. But no matter that Facebook will catch less bad stuff or that hate speech and misinformation is being intentionally conflated with free speech, as long as we're all in line with the ideology of our extremist leader, the tech billionaires will be all good. So don't worry. Can somebody kill me, please? No? Okay. There's no one there. As I said before, this is all a part of a plan to try and undercut democracy, because while the man who claimed he would be a dictator on day one can't exactly just do that, the closest he can get to that title is by removing people's right to information and by choking the life out of objective truth, which, as is stressed by the aftermath and lack of consequences surrounding January 6th and the plethora of other Trump misdeeds, is kinda his specialty. As journalist Zach Beauchamp put it in a July 2024 article for Vox, itself an excerpt from his latest book, this strategy of undercutting the media is a part of something Zach likes to call the reactionary spirit, a response from those unsettled by the liberty and equality that comes from a functioning democracy, who then try and take back control by borrowing from strategies of legitimate dictatorships, like controlling the media, and in turn, taking us back to the past. And the scary part is, it's working. We've spoken at length already about America, but this is happening across the globe. In 2024 alone, European elections in Austria, France, Portugal, and Belgium saw shifts to the centre and far right. Reform saw significant growth here in Britain and is being backed by Elon Musk, as are far-right groups in Austria and Germany. And there is evidence to support that the poor governing of social media has direct links to the rise of the far right and the growth of extremism and violence. An easy example to use would be the UK race riots of last year following the murders of 3 young girls in Southport, fueled by online hate groups and far-right figures like Tommy Robinson, who falsely claimed the murderers were of a foreign background. But looking beyond that, this week's lead story in Guardian Weekly highlighted that Facebook specifically, and their inaction towards online misinformation, had allowed groups to spew hate and lies to their benefit across countries like Myanmar, the Philippines, Sri Lanka, India, Ethiopia, and Kenya throughout the late 2010s and early 2020s, causing hundreds of thousands of deaths as direct correlation to Facebook's inability to keep misinformation in check. The same article sheds further light on the severity of this issue by citing leaked documents from 2020 as reported by the Wall Street Journal, which showed that Facebook teams spent 87% of their time in trying to moderate content from posts in the US, despite the fact that 90% of their worldwide users were placed out with the US and Canada. And seeing the damage the spread of misinformation is done elsewhere without this attention, along with the fact that Facebook is now stripping these fact-checking functions back in the US and who knows where else next, it's frightening to think about what's actually next. Because now it's arrived at our front door, in Britain, the rest of Europe, and the US, who will lead the war on truth with some of the most powerful figures in media and technology bending the knee, or as Guardian Weekly put it, a broader campaign to fundamentally alter the world order with regards to right-wing authoritarianism, in part by removing or suppressing any accountability measures. So where do we go from here? What do we as a general public do about this? Well, by all accounts, nothing. Having recently read Johann Hari's 2022 book Stolen Focus, which highlights the world's rapidly declining attention spans and forces, many of which I have mentioned in this video, who have tried to take our focus away from us, I came away from that book facing the frightening reality that none of us really are doing as much as we can. And it's made me question a lot of things about my own life, how I choose to spend my time, how I engage with media compared to politics and issues of real importance, and it's left me with a real dire outlook. Because what have we done about climate change, about sports washing, about the social media sites that have destroyed our attention, fast food companies which have destroyed our diets, the schools which teach us nonsense, the jobs which pay us like shit and take our time away from us? For a large portion of people, it's easier to just look away, but the longer we do that, the more we give the political leaders and tech billionaires of the world more and more power to take our voices and our right to truth away from us. So for those watching this video who may not be particularly politically involved, get fucking involved. Be more careful about the media you consume. Use the platforms you have access to speak your truth. Take note of where the lies being told to you are coming from. Be careful who you vote for, and be careful who you listen to. Take advantage of the information you have at your fingertips to learn more about the world around you and the decisions being made for you, because you could soon be in a place not too far in the future where your access to that information could be long, long gone. Thanks for watching. I don't usually do political stuff on this channel, but media literacy is something I'm extremely passionate about and want to talk about more, so even though I don't claim to be an expert on the matter, hopefully this video sheds some light on a lot of things happening in the world right now that I feel deserves your attention. And if anyone says, hey, stay out of politics on the channel, bruh, I say go fuck yourself. Please like, share, and subscribe for more. Go make your own content, make your voice heard on issues that matter to you and your fellow man. Follow me on the shitty-ass social media platforms I spoke about today here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.